I was gifted, here, wait, let me show you. This beautiful but dying succulent terrarium. Look at that. The original cost was like 150 bucks. Right, so I got this in a Buy Nothing group, which, by the way, if you're not part of Buy Nothing groups, join, because they're all about basically like not having to spend money with corporate America and helping out your local community members, right? Okay, we're gonna set that there. I think that should be enough room. All right, so I'm in the garage. It's gross out here, but that's because I shouldn't. I'm repotting out here in the garage just because I can sweep out to the road or whatever, any dirt that I spill. I do still have this under here. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take everything pretty much out of here, because I stuck my finger in and I looked at through it. So she did great, the person who like set this up, with, you know, soil and rocks and stuff for drainage, but there's a lot of rocks on top, and I'm not sure if that's just for like aesthetics or what, but the soil underneath was like super compacted, and that is going to be really hard for your succulents to grow through. Really, a lot of plants, unless they're like super like sturdy and more like invasive, it's going to be really hard for them to grow roots in compacted soil. So I really have to take everything out of this. And then I also have this one who, I don't like this container for my succulents. They're doing okay in here, but it's not an ideal container. I do have some little leaves that I had put on here that are already growing roots. If you can see that. The influencer thing ain't great. I don't know if you can see it. Whatever, I don't give a fuck. So I'm gonna take these guys and I'm gonna set them. I should get a paper towel. Oh my god, Kitty, no. Sorry, my cats are going ham in this garage because they never get to go here. I'm gonna go get a paper towel and set my little succulent babies on there so I don't lose them out here. Alright, I'm also leaving the cats. They snuck out and I wasn't gonna fight them about it. But now they're back in. Alright, I'm gonna set my ice cube there. If you're wondering why I have an ice cube or like ice pack that I keep putting against my head, it's because I have an infection in my head. Yay! It's because I can't afford dental work. Yay! America! But yeah, alright, I'm gonna pull these little guys out. I'm basically gonna put all the plants over here. I was gonna put big rocks in here, smaller rocks and dirt and stuff in here. Let me pull these little leaves out though right now. Oh. And so, just so you know too, if you're repotting your plants, it is easier to repot once the soil is dry. This is because when your soil's wet, a lot of times that wet soil will pull down on the dirt and can often like separate your roots, which are like super tiny and very fragile. So you see this guy, he's got a lot of roots here. This is mine here that I already had that they weren't doing super great in. That's not gonna survive. I tried repotting this aloe too. We'll see how it does. Now this guy, I'm pretty sure is just gonzo. So I am gonna sand in here too. But I am just gonna throw away these dead roots because I don't think this is gonna help any. And I'm gonna take this guy here. I'm gonna pull all these dead leaves off because the thing about plants is when they start to die, they don't just give up on those leaves, right? The whole live plant is still trying to send nutrients to those dying leaves. But what it does is it wastes its energy on the dead stuff that's not going to come back because it doesn't know it's not going to come back. And it ends up just killing your whole plant, right? So when we can remove the dead off of our plants, it might look a little scrawny here, but now those are the only leaves that it's sending nutrients to. So yeah, again, these were mine. This isn't part of the one I was gifted, but I am going to use like these guys in it. And I'm probably also going to pull some live ones too. I've also noticed in my experience that succulents seem to do better when they're surrounded by a lot of healthy guys. It's probably because they send their nutrients over there to the sick and dying ones. All right, I think I got all my little guys out of here. And I am going to pull out these dead leaves. So when I have like herb gardens and stuff, I do actually like kind of crunch up the dead leaves and put it in the soil around it because it's got the nutrients that the plant is looking for, right? They're in those dead leaves. But I've found, and I don't know if there's any science behind this, but just from my personal experience, I found that succulents do not like that as much. They must, I don't know. I don't know why. But I find the more dead succulents you leave around succulents, the more likely they are to die too. Maybe I have some kind of rot or something when mine die. I'm not sure, if I'm being perfectly honest, but that's just been my experience. And so I am not like professionally, I have no degrees about gardening or anything like that, but I have a lot of experience. I've had a lot of dead plants too, and I have a lot of live ones. So my knowledge kind of just is experiential here. This one, I think also had too much sand in, but you can see like, I'm gonna take the roots out. You can rip their roots, but I just feel like they don't thrive as much when you do all that. So when it's in sand, it's a lot easier, I feel like, to get out because sand is less solid, I feel like, than compacted dirt. Depending on how compacted the sand is, I guess, but I'm ripping some of the roots, I can feel it, but there's that. You guys can see. Okay, so then I'm gonna throw this dirt and stuff out. And that's some roots. Yeah, your plants too, if they become too tangled in roots, they'll actually suffocate, which is I'm sure it has a name and I just can't think of it right now, but yeah, it's a real thing. That away. All right, now this is the succulent thing that is gifted. I'm gonna have to remove this stuff. Now, this moss actually, I feel like I could put this in its own little terrarium and this will do a lot better. So I brought this guy over. Now moss, I might just actually put the rocks and moss in here. Kind of give them a structure. You know, I'll probably need a little bit of dirt, but you know. I don't actually, well actually I might want that with this. So there's a lot of like regular rock here. I'm gonna use cool rocks because I'm a rock person on top of being a plant person, so. Regular, like, river rocks are fine, I guess, but I like fun rocks. And I did see a few really neat rocks that were gifted in this container, too, which I might use. So this is selenite here. Happy Sunday! I'm repotting. I was just gifted this succulent bowl, but they're dying, so I was gifted with it with the condition that I would help bring it back to life, which I'm more than happy to try. Right now, I saw there was moss, so these I would actually not put with my succulents. I'm gonna put rock and moss in its own little terrarium. That way it can have the right, so the amount of moisture you need to keep the moss alive is going to rot the succulents. At least I believe so, and don't quote me on it. Again, I have no degrees. I'm not like a, whatever the degree is for plants. Oh, is that gonna fit? There we go. I'm gonna put this neat rock in there. I'm gonna like put that there. Maybe I'll put this on the bottom, actually. Yeah, I'm gonna put that on the bottom. Then we're gonna put a little bit of dirt here. And I also have actually a bag of dirt. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm working with here. I got my plants over here too. Planties over here. Oh yeah, and I have an ice pack for my head because I have a dental infection. I was supposed to be able to pick up my prescription today, but Walgreens pharmacy is closed today. All right. So I'm gonna get some, I saw this cool rock too. I don't know what it is, but it looks tumbled, so I'm putting it in here. And I know I saw a tiger's eye. Oh yeah, here. Oh, there's two tiger's eyes here. That's tiger's eye. I don't know if y'all are rock people too. There's a second tiger's eye. And it almost feels like these were like an afterthought or something in this terrarium. But yeah, I wouldn't put moss with succulents just because their temperature and like humidity needs are super different from one another. This is just a regular river rock. I'm gonna leave that out. Like this moss is gonna need to be revived. I have a spray bottle. But I was saying before, like, I think a lot of people, they think, oh, maybe if I get it wet, it'll be easier to repot. The thing is, repotting does way better when the dirt and like sand and stuff are dry, because wet soil is just like a lot heavier on the roots and ends up tearing them. It's kind of, I feel like, counterintuitive if you haven't worked with plants a lot, you know. So I'm gonna put this moss here. I had this moss. I see this moss. And again, I'm just gonna like wet these a little bit before I put them in anywhere. Moss loves being super wet, super humid, but your succulents will rot if you do that to them. So just a little tip for my plant tea lovers. If you want moss, you're gonna want to do it in its own little thing, or with some like tropical plants that like the humidity. Like you could do it with like a bromelade, or even an air plant would do well with moss, but you're not gonna want to put desert succulents with moss. If you think about it too, just from like a natural standpoint, you don't often see, oh wait, I have never seen like forest moss in the desert with succulents, right? They just don't really thrive in the same conditions. And so I think that was the first issue with this little terrarium I was given. But I think my little moss bubble is going to do great. So look at what I've done here. Moss loves humidity, so I put it against the sides with a rock there. I think that's all the moss in here. I was honestly shocked when I saw moss in a succulent terrarium. I was like, that's an interesting choice. But we listen and we don't judge, right? I'm gonna start picking out some of these bigger rocks. These are the kind of rocks that will be good for drainage at the bottom of a bowl, because it can create pockets of water down there. These little rocks, these are actually not great for drainage. And I feel like a lot of people think these are great for drainage, but they actually are so small, there's not a lot of air left between them. And so you don't get as much like space in between your rocks when you use really tiny ones. You want like, I actually don't even like tumbled stones either. I like big, like chunky raw rocks, because their natural rugged edges will leave like lots of space in between. So I'm gonna take out the rocks that I would reuse. Even these are really small. I'm gonna take those out. So this guy here, oh, poor baby. It's like hanging. This part is already broken, so I'm gonna, oh, I might need to get scissors. Yeah. This part's already hanging too. Likely the stalk is dead here, yeah, because that broke real easily. See, this part here too is even dangling. That's dead. Where it's not dead, it's right here where I broke it off. See how that stalk is still firm, full of juice? Now, it's kind of 50-50 whether this little baby will make it, because it's so tiny. I'm actually ripping off that last layer of leaves also. We're just going to spray that guy just kind of like as a triage right now. We're going to set him back on the, over there. I'll be part of the littles that we plant. I am going to go run and get scissors really quick. Now, if I was less risky, I would probably look up what all of these succulents are and see their specific needs. That's probably the best way to do it, but I'm lazy and I like to experiment, so. And they were free, so they're already dying. And the truth is, if I leave them the way they are now, they're 100% gonna be dead. But with my experiment, there's a better chance of them living. So you see this little succulent, I don't know if you guys can see this here. Let me flip over. These leaves that I pulled off, those are just going to keep killing your succulent if you don't pull them off. Because your succulent is trying to revive these guys. These brown shriveled guys that we both know it won't survive, like it won't revive these. But the plant doesn't know that. It's hopeful and trying against all odds, right? And that's what ends up being its demise. And I feel like there's some kind of metaphor we can use there, but I'll let y'all come to your own conclusions with that one. Now see here, this little guy's making, it's got a baby actually. It's trying to propagate itself because it knows it's dying. They do have a certain sense of wisdom, I guess. All these are under a lot of rock, which also makes repotting difficult because obviously rock is very heavy. Even the little ones, they add up, and there's like a bunch of them. So I'm gonna remove as much of this rock as I can before I take any of these out, because otherwise I'm just gonna tear the roots to shreds. And when your plant is dying like this, the more root you can save, the better chance it'll survive. Yeah, it's always kind of, like I said, 50-50 when they're like pretty much 75% dead like this. Sometimes you can't save them. Sometimes they're too far gone, and I don't pretend to know why or when nature decides that. So we'll just do what we can and hope for the best, right? It's literally all we can do is our best. All right. Getting some of these bigger rocks out that I would reuse for the bottom. This is dried plant. This one's not going to be able to be revived, unfortunately. Here's some tiny rock. And so, like, underneath, now this will be good for the moss. This is bark. I'm not sure why this is with succulents, because this will not be good for them. This retains way too much water and is better for a mossy setup. Which I'm gonna spray these down because this moss is super dried out. This moss is gonna need to be wetted at least a few times a day for the next week if it's gonna survive. I think the moss is going to be easier to bring back than the succulents. Moss is generally less picky. I feel it just wants water. It literally just wants water. That's all the moss wants. Succulents are like, I need the right kind of light. If it's too bright, I'll die. And if it's not bright enough, I will also die. Succulents are kind of, some can be kind of picky like that. The more exotic succulents, like these guys here, they're a little, these are a little pickier than I feel like, at least moss. Pull these little rocks out too. And so what I'm getting at is this soil. And this soil is super dry and kind of like a brick. It's very compact. And that is not going to be great for these little succulent roots, which are not that strong. You would think they would be stronger just because these plants are quite big, I would say, for succulents, since they take so long to grow. But their roots are still pretty, like, not weak, just more fragile, I guess. More go with the flow than forcing their way, you know? There's so many tiny rocks. That puts a lot of weight on the roots, too. And it also does not give the roots an ability to grow through them because there's no nutrients there. At least with big rocks, when there's big gaps, if you put dirt, like, below a layer of bigger rock, then your plant's roots can go through those rocks to get to like soil or water down there. And it actually helps strengthen them because they're having to fight through this like obstacle course where there is enough room. Tiny rocks do not leave enough room for your roots. Okay, let me not knock this bowl over and freaking break it either. Let me take this price sticker off too. I wonder if this lady really did pay 150 bucks for this. Because whoever sold it to her did not set it up for success. And I don't feel like that's nice of them to charge $150 for a setup that is probably going to fail for most of your plants. Like moss and succulents, it's not something I feel like most plant people would do. So I don't know if maybe this was just made by someone who doesn't know plants and just knows aesthetics. But it's like, you got to pick one for your aesthetics. You can't go woodland, wetland, forest, and, you know, dry Arizona desert in the same, at least not in the same enclosure. I guess you could do both in the same room, but even still, I have my succulents in one room, like, and then I have my like tropical plants in another room that is upstairs, and it keeps more like heat and stuff. And I put like a humidifier. Oh, man, shit, there's so much rock. This is like an aquarium. Ugh. Yeah, I have been struggling with a tooth infection this week, and so I figured dirt therapy would be helpful for me. And then the universe provided me with this beautiful opportunity, so I said, yes, please. Now see if these are dying too. dead. It's not going to come back no matter how hard the plant tries to revive it. We have to be the voice of reason here for the plant. Don't kill yourself trying to save your dead bits that are not coming back, please. You can still be successful without those parts. And in fact, moving those bits of you dead are the only route for survival. Oh, okay, so here's my bad. I accidentally knocked off a leaf. The thing about succulents, though, is that a lot of times they will start to grow roots out their bottom here, especially when they're intact like this. So I'm going to keep that guy. This one's a dead guy right underneath it. There's still a lot of rocks in here for me to start pulling on the plants. Okay, I'm going to take these scissors. I'm going to cut this guy off. So I'll cut off, this is all dead here. All that's dead, but you see how this little guy is alive at the top? We're gonna cut all that off. A lot of people might try and save that second one because it's still green, but the stalk itself is a string of brown. It's not going to be able to successfully send anything to those leaves. It's kind of just a lost cause. Now, what I am going to do with this one that's mostly dead, I'm going to cut off all the live stuff and probably hope that it grows that way. But I am going to also still cut it down and try and save this because this guy's alive. So I want to keep those roots for it. Ugh, all right. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird to me. I never would have thought when I was like a kid that I would know so much about plants, you know. It's just kind of been like a hobby, but you really learn so much when you do a hobby about like every, you know, all the time, every day. Uh-oh. Oh, I'm sorry. That was an accident too. I ripped this guy off. So this guy is actually alive here, but the bottom is not. So I'm going to clip right above the rot. You're going to be a guy I try to save. That's going to be thrown away. Oh, this poor baby. And so the thing about these vine-like succulents too is when they die, they can sometimes suffocate the rest of the plant. Like, especially when it's a lot of dead on top. It's like it doesn't allow for it to get enough sun or something. I'm not quite sure of why that happens, but I've just noticed it. Yeah. And so it's a little tricky. You have to be really gentle with these vines because, as you'll see, I just pulled off a live part on accident. I kneeled on it. My bad. So I'm gingerly picking up the dead ones. Now this, dead all the way down here. All that's dead. But the top is alive. So again, I'm going to cut this guy right under its last dead leaf, or right above its last dead leaf so that I cut off every single dead part. And again, this one, I am going to try and save it with its roots as well, but there's just so much dead on here that I'm going to try and save the tops of what I can in case the roots are just kind of like far gone. I don't imagine, though, that the roots are rotted here. If anything, it's too dry and just too compact. They're probably too small to sustain the size of the plant because they were unable to grow further than, you know, whatever they were able to grow. This guy too, it's largely dead at the bottom and middle. I don't think this one will be able to be regrown, but we'll see. You never know. There's just like so much fucking rock though. That one I could use. Yeah, the dirt is just so like hard around each one. That tells me that it's root bound. That's the word I was looking for earlier. Root bound. All right, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Just in case you're dealing with dying succulents also. So this right here, you see how this dirt is one section. This is, oh man, look at that. Why did that come up like that? It's not supposed to. This is not a healthy terrarium. This was a plant that was put in sideways and not watered in properly. Okay. Yeah, that's crazy. I was not expecting so much, like, seriously root bound. Shit. Okay. So I'm just gonna set this guy here for now. Get him out of the way, because what I really want to get to, this guy is definitely gonna live. This one I'm not sure though. But this one's just as root bound. Now that I can get underneath the plants, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah, you see how stuck this soil is? I'm gonna break some of that up. We're gonna put some of that there. This is not good like that. You need to have a bit of dirt and sand mixture for succulents, because again, their roots are just so, like, I feel like delicate. Yeah, that's not the right word, but I feel like their roots are so delicate oftentimes that they will be stunted by soil that's too compact. Now see too here, if this dirt was wet, I would have just ripped off all those roots on accident. This is dry ass soil, so at least that's good. Now, oh, I did even rip a little bit of the roots here. Okay, now this one, I'm going to cut off these dead parts at the base. This one is completely dead. There is no reviving any of that. It's literally dust. Alright. That is dead. That's rock. This is dead. This is dead. Okay. Oh, where did you go? Now this is the last stalk with actual life on it. You see that one, the difference between these two? What I'm going to have to do is tear the dead leaves off of this. And so you see how dry they are? They literally just crumble right off. That's not a good sign. You should not leave leaves like that on your succulents because it will kill them. It's kind of like a one bad apple spoils the bunch scenario. Oh, yeah, that's coming off too. Yeah, and so some people would probably be tempted to try and save these, like, seemingly half-dead bits, and maybe you could, but I'm honestly just going to take it off so that the plant can focus on that top part and helping that part survive and grow further. Because see here too, you see that? That's mold. So these succulents that have the tiny little leaves, you want to be careful actually how much you spray these, because if they don't have good drainage off the leaf, you will literally just rot the leaf if it stays wet. These succulents are meant to dry out on the outside and then be able to find fresh water from the roots. So they were kind of growing in opposite conditions they needed to thrive. They were very wet on the outside above the dirt and then very dry in the dirt. And that is just a recipe for succulent death, if you're asking me. Yeah. So there was some rot on the leaves. I'm going to actually have to peel, make sure all that, like, black is off, because otherwise the whole inside of the stem will rot and then I won't be able to save that top part. So it looks sad, it looks scrawny, but this is going to give it the best chance for survival that it can have. I'm even ripping a little bit. You don't want to do too much, but when I see some black, like, almost like bark covering on the stem, I'm taking a layer off. And so when I water this one, I'm going to try to not water its stem or maybe bury it up to here in the dirt. We'll see. I am going to leave them together just because hopefully they will help each other out. Right. And you see how these rocks just got stuck in the dirt? Like, if even rocks are getting stuck in your dirt, your roots are not going to grow. That soil is way too compacted. I'm not going to want to use any of that. Oh, it's even smaller rocks. This is even worse. Okay, don't use rocks like this for drainage because you're just creating a bottom of rock. There is no space for water to drain into. There's no space for water. Is that charcoal? Don't put charcoal in there either. Jesus Christ. where it's like burned wood. We're not using that in anything. Jesus. Did this person just like dig through a fucking fire pit? Like what? Don't do that. Don't put charcoal in your dirt like that. I don't know, maybe I'm just ignorant. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you're supposed to put charcoal in the fucking dirt. I'm just throwing this. This is not even useful at this point. That kind of is. I wish I hadn't put all this stuff with charcoal. Yeah, I've never heard of putting charcoal in your dirt. Or like burnt log ember. Maybe that adds something that I'm unaware of, but again, I'm not formally taught or anything, but it's not a hack I've heard of. We're just gonna scoop this out and throw you away. Now see here, roots hanging in this dry dirt. Because it's so dry, I can crunch some of it off. Could not do this if it was wet. That would ultimately just end up tearing the roots if it was wet. So that's the one bonus. Okay, now I can see this guy closer. Definitely want to rip off any of those dead bottom leaves. Oh, I see. This is where it grew from, that little, I don't know if you can see. There's a little baby too. Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm just gonna pull this guy off. I don't think that one's, it was feeling kind of half full. Anyways. Yeah, this one's half broken too. We're gonna take that off. Alright. I'll try and unpack these roots that are just sadly so packed they're not gonna be able to grow. Okay, I might have to. This one too. Yeah, there's like rocks stuck in here too. I may not be able to completely unpack these roots. I'll try, but they're like really solid. Yeah, this guy's a pretty big succulent. I don't know if you're familiar with how like slow succulents will often grow. Like I have some baby's breath succulents that they're like 5 years old and they're still only about this big. It needs all these roots. It honestly, plants need roots about the size of what they are above ground, you know? I guess that's what I've always tried to do for my plants. All right. Yeah, what the hell is all this? I use those rocks, maybe. Some dirt. Yeah, for succulents, you really want like a good dirt sand mixture. I may not even use any of this dirt. Like, what is all this? This is charcoal and just like aquarium fucking stone. Don't put that in your plants, guys. I will show you the right way to set up a succulent terrarium today. Starts by not putting any freaking charcoal in there. This is just straight trash. Big rocks I will take. This, I don't want any of that. We're gonna take this guy out. Now this one I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to save. Yeah, the dirt's even like stuck to the glass. That's how like hard it was stuck in there. Don't be pushing down on your plants, guys. Don't be stuffing them in there. It's not conducive for your succulents. I am just gonna spray it out a bit. Alright. This guy you got rocks stuck in you too. That away. Yeah, look at this poor guy. He was stuck in a root-bound system this big. So this is a very small root system for him. I'm honestly surprised he got that big. What we're gonna do, we're gonna have to cut off a lot of this. I just got dirt all over my foot. Ooh, I don't know. I don't think these guys will regrow from a leaf like a lot of succulents. This is like a succulent adjacent plant. So I'm gonna cut off its dead leaves, see if it's got a live stalk there. It's hard to tell with all the dead leaves. No, I don't think it does. I think that stem is dead. Yep. Shoot. All right. Well, there's two options here. We'll try and see if there's only like one healthy guy on here. I don't think this is gonna work. This one might be too far gone. I don't think it's gonna work. We can try. Pull all these dead guys off. I'll show you guys the stem. Why I don't think it'll work. I don't think the stem is functioning currently. No, it's like rotted at the end. Never mind. Yeah, this is completely rotted. We're not going to be able to save this one. Look at, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, how it's black at the tip. This is not going to be able to be saved. Shoot, that's such a pretty one too. Every single one of them is like that though. At least on that one. This one too, I don't think we'll... What we'll try is cutting down the rot off of it. Maybe we'll try... Oh, that didn't even... I don't think this one's going to be able to be saved. Your poor roots, baby. All right. We'll see what we can... Even the stem itself is just like... Oh, it's like hollow. I don't think that's going to amount to anything. That's all right. That's all right. Okay. Oh, God, my legs. So... actually, I'm going to take some of this dirt out. A little bit is going to be fine. I'm going to put this big rock here. And we're going to put some of these big rocks down at the bottom. Now, you do want rocks at the bottom. I can see what the person who made this was going for, you know. This rock layer is going to offer space. I would honestly even use larger rocks if I had them. I might actually. That's all right. We'll just do this for now. Oh, I forgot about you, buddy. We'll take care of you in a second. I'm going to take some of this sand, though. Mix that in. With some dirt. Now, this also, too, is a kind of failing succulent habitat. I did too much sand, I think, in this one. And so that is probably why. And so I'm also going to put in some fresh soil, too. This is like a potting mix. Just so it has some new nutrients in there. And we're mixing this with the sand. We're going to add more sand. So here, this was a dead succulent stem. Gotta pull the death out. Succulents are just too sensitive to it, I feel like. Although, actually, speaking of adding death to your succulents, I have heard that they will actually thrive from bone meal. So that's neat. They just they want animal death, not plant death. I don't know if you have all been following Afroman and all that stuff online, but I got Lick'em Lisa stuck in my head. If you haven't heard it, switch off my video and go listen to Afroman and his new stuff. It's about the Adams County sheriffs and whatnot. They like raided his house illegally because they said they were looking for a kidnapping victim, yet I don't think Afroman had anyone kidnapped in his house when he wasn't even there. And then they stole $400 from him and tried to eat his pound cake, his lemon pound cake. All right, so I've got this about full now. I'm gonna work on. Yeah, I'm gonna put this guy in first because I think this guy's gonna have the best chance of survival out of the plants I was given. We're gonna put you at a nice back spot. We're gonna put some sand there. We don't want to cover the baby. Uh-oh. Oh no, I broke a little leaf off the baby. That's okay. Put you there. Put a baby there. Now this is one of mine. I'm actually going to throw this one away. It looks like it has mold on it. Sorry. This guy was the little one I don't know if we'll be able to save, so I'm just going to put him back there too, next to the healthiest one. We'll see how it goes. Again, this is like bark. That's going to be good for the moss. I swear, whoever made this terrarium just thought, I'll just mix together everything that the woods and the desert have. That should work, right? No, it won't work. You have to have separate climates. Okay, now I'm going to put some of my guys. I'm going to put them here. Well, you know what? I'm going to put you there. And you there. Oh, get my cramp in my leg. Ow. Put some dirt there. Yeah, we're gonna put some little guys. So this is a little guy I'm gonna pull the dead leaves off of. We're gonna put you back here too. And then we're gonna put this guy back there. Rip your dead leaves off. This guy's kind of dying. This was one of mine. See, people always ask me, like, oh, how do you have such a green thumb? And I'm like, you just haven't seen all the plants that died. I do have a lot of growing plants, but you gotta kill some to know what you're doing, I think. It's kind of like the nature of experimentation, I guess. That is charcoal. We're not putting that there or that. I wonder if the moss would like charcoal. I don't know much about moss. This one might just be dead. This was a little guy. I tried to pull off my other aloes because they were getting crowded. It was a little aloe pup. I don't think it's gonna grow. Oh, no, you have a little root, baby. Yep, we'll try you back here. This is like our triage center back here. Plant triage. We got a good one with the little baby. We got some little babies there. We're also going to put this little baby back there too. And then this guy has a little baby attached to it. We're going to put you Nope, I'm not gonna take that dirt. Okay, and we're gonna actually water in this a little bit already. Now I know succulents like dry, but when you're repotting your succulents, you still want to water them in like you would any other plant. Just because it's like, I feel like being repotted is like a person getting like a facelift or something. Like you need some R&R. You can't just like go from there. You need a little triage first. All right. And we're gonna put this guy over here. Now you know what? Take it away. We're going to actually put it down further. All right. That one there. This guy. Oh, you guys want to go together? Okay. Put you here. And you here. That's a rock. I don't know if these little guys are gonna survive. But like I said, all we can do is try. Put these little guys here. You know, I'll wait till I do this one. And I don't quite know what I want to do with this. These roots are just so like, ugh. Poor baby. It's got like a lot of the whatever those white like things in soil are. That tells me that it went through all the nutrients in there and it was literally just like trying to desperately suck moisture. Now again, I'm doing this while the roots are dry. I would be ripping all of the roots if they were wet right now. And this plant is already pretty delicate right now too. I just accidentally knocked off. Okay. So I knocked this guy off accidentally. Alive and well after this point. All right. We're gonna put you here too. So I'm putting all these ones that are like the same type together just because they're so little. This needs to cut on. This is where it gets a little tricky. And you see how these are alive down here. This is all dead here. Maybe if I can loosen this up a little bit more. These roots are just so compacted. This is like bone hard here. This is all dead. So I can trim this off. Oh no, wait, it's not all dead. It's mostly dead. But it's definitely completely dead here. Put you little guy there. Oh. I thought that might be seeds. I was wrong. Interesting. I think this succulent is just very dehydrated, actually. It's the point of like dehydrating to death. Yeah, see that? It's just dead. 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 They're supposed to be water filled like this. Cut you off. Here. And you here. I'm gonna put these guys here. That might have been seeds. Oops. Interesting. I've never seen succulents give off seeds like that before. It's very interesting. For sure. I'd never go to Utah, I'll be perfectly honest. I'm in Missouri. I think the last time I was in Utah, it was like dealing with legal issues. So it didn't give me incentive to go back, I'll be perfectly honest. But it's been a long time since I've been to Utah. I'll definitely think about you though if I go there. I've been loving listening to your music, dude. I don't think you're still watching, but that's okay. So these dead plants, I am actually ripping their roots because I feel like the roots are strangling themselves at this point. They're so odd. They're like bulb seeds? I don't know. I really will have to look in and see what this plant is. Yeah, getting all that like white stuff off of it will be helpful for sure. Okay, so this takes me back to like my days on Humboldt Mountain. Snip, snip. we're gonna try and land here. Okay, this is crazy. I'm just gonna probably put you there. Try setting you there. Sorry guys, this is the slow part here. Just picking out rot, picking off death, seeing what you can save. It's an arduous process, that's for sure. Alright, I think I've got everything that I can save from here still attached. So what I'm going to do, dig quite the hole here actually. I'm going to try to set these guys down in it as much as possible. And I'm probably also going to put some sand on top of it. Maybe a little bit of dirt too. I'm honestly probably going to throw most of this dirt away. It's just not great. Alright, and I still got little guys to put on there too. So actually I'm going to water this in first really quick. Where's my spray bottle? A little bit more sand on top. And so I am actually going to put these babies in the bowl there. I know they're supposed to hang off, but I feel like my cats are going to fuck with them if I do that right now. And now what's left of these little babies. So this one, I'm putting these ones mostly on top of sand. I don't know if you guys can see. I'll show you guys after I set it all up actually. And this is why I did this out in the garage. At least I can just sweep it all out when I'm done. One guy, this little guy, this little guy. You, and you. Okay. Sure, I don't have any other little succulent leaves I can save. My ice pack is dirty. I'm gonna have to wash that off now. My head is still pounding. I'm putting sand on top just because I think sand looks nicer for succulents. It doesn't really matter what's on top, like the top layer. And what matters is that the stuff that the roots are in is mixed sand and dirt. All right. I might actually grab a couple more succulents to put in there for my own stuff. Jesus. Oh. Move them up if you want. I'm on live right now. Okay. Have fun with the monkey. I'm actually going to add these guys because I don't like this pot that they're in. And I have been meaning to repot these guys for a while because they got a lot of dead leaves on them. So this is going to be an interesting challenge. Oh, I already got a little guy coming off. I'm going to stick you here. You're a dead leaf, come on. These guys drink a lot of water, and so the reason that these guys are dying is because I didn't water them enough. My bad, guys. You're gonna go here. These guys are probably a little root bound too, if I'm being honest. You got dead leaves on you, girl. Nope. Put you here. Come on, guys. Oh shit, I broke a couple leaves. That's the hardest part, I think, of Little succulents is breaking little leaves off accidentally. Just touch them all and graze them all. Yeah, these ones got some compacted roots too. This part will be good for the moss. Okay, I got one here. I'm gonna put you here. Oops. Oop. Okay. Got this guy out finally. Ugh. Okay. Yeah, no wonder this one's dying. Alright. Sprinkle a little bit of sand on that to make you uniform with the rest. I think these are going to be happier, having more space to grow. I had packed them tight, but they were, I think, too tight. Oh shit, I just broke that. Alright, then we will move you, since I broke you, I'm sorry. We'll put you here. You're too pretty. There we go. Alright, I think that one's going to be good and watered in now. Spray my moss again, just because I think I might actually add, I feel like I had some dirt balls that were Okay. I put too much water in there. There. Alright, we got our moss guy here. So that's my fun little moss home. Stuff away. I'll show you all the succulents. And I'll hop off here. So these are my little succulents. I moved those there. And we'll see how they grow. So yeah. Thank you to people who watch me repot plants for an hour. Hope everyone has a good one. Bye.